But the WNBA last year, bless their hearts, finally got a star. And they didn't know that. They couldn't figure it out. Well, we don't want to put too much Caitlin Clark on. Nope, every game. More Caitlin Clark all the time, always. Caitlin Clark is easily the most influential athlete in a team sport since Michael Jordan.
As the noise tried to downplay her talent, something undeniable started happening behind the scenes. Veteran stars began joining the Indiana Fever. These weren't fringe players looking to cling to a roster spot. No, we're talking about Dana Bonner, Natasha Howard, Sydney Colson, proven champions with resumes, rings, and choices. And they all chose Indiana. The reason? Caitlin Clark. It wasn't just the roster or the coach, it was her gravitational pull. A city that was once considered irrelevant in the WNBA suddenly became the epicenter of attention. Indiana wasn't just a stop on the map anymore, it was the place to be. And when stars begin aligning themselves with a rookie, that's when you know this is more than hype. That's when you know this is legacy-level stuff in the
Now,
making.
if we say her stats are today, what?
20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But
For the first time in WNBA history, games were scheduled at the iconic United Center in Chicago, home of Michael Jordan himself, not for the playoffs, not for an all-star game, but because the Indiana Fever and, more importantly, Caitlin Clark were coming to town. It's a moment that rewrites what's possible in women's sports. This wasn't some cute novelty, this was necessity. The smaller arenas couldn't hold the demand, and so teams began upgrading venues just to accommodate the crowd Caitlin brings. It's one thing to move a game for logistics. It's another when it's all because one rookie commands that much attention. The Fever's clash with the Chicago Sky became more than a game. It became a landmark event, a reflection of what Caitlin is doing for the entire league.
Yes, have we ever had teams have to get into larger arenas to play against a team? No, we have not. So if we have more eyeballs on the game and Caitlin Clark brings that, why would we feel some kind of way because she has more television games? I think we have to understand that when one player eats, we all eat. And as we all get more opportunities, it just opens it up for everyone else.
TV networks didn't hedge their bets. They went all in on Caitlin Clark. Out of 44 regular season games, 41 of Indiana's matchups are being broadcast nationally. That's not coverage, that's saturation. This level of exposure isn't standard for a team that didn't even make last year's playoffs. It's a statement from media giants that says loud and clear, Caitlin Clark is the show. It's primetime nearly every night. And while others may grumble, the data doesn't lie. Viewership spikes, ad dollars soar, and fans, old and new, tune in religiously. When a single player alters a media ecosystem built over decades, it's not just talent, it's magnetism. Caitlin Clark is no longer a player making headlines. She is the headline.
It's just the structure of the way media plays out race. So last night we read Time magazine where Caitlin Clark was named Athlete of the Year. Why couldn't they have put the whole WNBA on that cover?
While Caitlin is fantastic and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA, there are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes to that.
At first, some veterans were skeptical. The shift in attention was overwhelming, but something changed. Acceptance. Players began to talk, and the tone shifted. Have we ever had to play in bigger arenas just because of one player? One asked. The answer? Number. And they started to get it. When Caitlin eats, everyone eats. More viewers mean more sponsorships, more endorsements, and ultimately more money for all players. Her presence isn't a threat. It's a rising tide. Instead of pushing back against the spotlight, players are stepping into it. They're realizing that Caitlin Clark isn't just good for herself. She's good for business. And in a league that's long been overlooked, that kind of shift is priceless.
And the average reported ticket price was $650. Now, if you do the math here and you do 15,000 people times $650, that is almost $9.75 million just for a WNBA preseason game.
When you see a 15,000-seat arena packed for a preseason game, and each ticket averaging $650, you realize this isn't just a sports story. It's an economic phenomenon. That's nearly $9.75 million in revenue for a meaningless exhibition. But it wasn't meaningless to the fans who lined up and shelled out serious money to see Caitlin warm up, shoot around, and maybe play a few minutes. No playoff implications, no trophies, just her presence. That level of draw? That's not normal. It's a marketplace response that says she's not just popular, she's profitable. No hype machine can fake those numbers. No narrative can spin that demand. Caitlin Clark is turning the WNBA into an attraction, and every city on the schedule is cashing in.
The plays that she was making still, despite all that, was like insane. But like people were so caught up in the logo threes and the highs, the 23-point attempts per game, which absolutely I understand that. Like it was so much fun to watch. But I always said she could potentially be one of the best point guards to ever play in the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark didn't come into the league to simply find her footing. She came to make a mark. Breaking the assist record as a rookie is no small feat, but somehow, her achievements are still being drowned out by arguments over shot selection or media bias. Yet peers, real ones who've been there, are starting to say it plainly. This girl is different. Her rookie year was unlike anything we've seen. While others see logo threes and flashy stats, the real basketball minds are noticing her court vision, her pace, her ability to dictate a game. And that's what separates hype from history. Caitlin Clark isn't just a scorer. She's the kind of point guard who might one day sit among the all-time greats.
Caitlin's coming. There's more than just that are coming. What will the league have in store for them when they get there?
Look, SVP, reality is coming.
1.3 million people tuned in for a preseason game. That's not a typo. It wasn't just the crowd in Iowa or the sold-out arena. It was the sense of return, of full-circle storytelling. Caitlin came back to where she broke records, and she gave the people what they came for. A three-pointer from behind the same logo where she became a legend. It wasn't just basketball, it was cinema. That kind of awareness, to know what the moment is and how to seize it, that's star power. Not every great athlete has it, but Caitlin does. And when Brazil's national team lined up after the game, smiling and snapping selfies, it was obvious. They saw her not as a rival, but as an icon, a global one.
The one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, but she was a white girl from the middle of America.
Let's talk numbers. That 1.3 million preseason viewers, that outdrew NBA preseason games. It crushed MLB spring training ratings. It even topped Game 1 of last year's WNBA Finals. This wasn't a fluke. It was a data-driven reckoning, the kind that TV executives dream about and marketing teams pray for. What it proved was simple. Caitlin Clark doesn't just attract attention, she retains it. She doesn't just generate buzz, she builds loyalty. And once you see numbers that large for a preseason game, the debate ends. She's not just a player who belongs in the WNBA. She's the one dragging the whole league into the mainstream, and maybe even beyond. Some doubters began switching sides, not because they had a change of heart, but because the evidence left them no choice. They saw the sellouts. They watched the numbers roll in. And they realized staying quiet or being negative might age badly. Even skeptics know when the tide has turned. And now, instead of criticism, we hear admiration. A few are doing it grudgingly. Others are embracing it fully. But the mood has shifted. People want to be on the right side of history. The Caitlin Clark effect isn't coming. It's already here. And those who hesitated are now scrambling to rewrite their takes. While most players eased into the offseason, Caitlin was grinding, showing up at public appearances, attending NFL owner meetings, shaking hands at the Masters, and still hitting the gym at 8 a.m. every morning. That's not just commitment, it's obsession. It's Kobe-level discipline. The Mamba mentality isn't just a slogan for her. It's a way of life. She's not overwhelmed by fame. She's weaponizing it, getting stronger, sharpening her instincts, building for dominance. The next chapter, it's not about adapting. It's about taking over. Caitlin Clark isn't here to participate. She's here to lead a revolution. And the WNBA will never be the same.